So guys, welcome to the third episode of weekly trading results breakdown. This is officially the third week of me documenting my trades here on YouTube, right? So what I normally do every end of the week, I document the trades, I sum them up, and I give you the overall result for the week, right? Whether it has been a losing week or it has been a winning one. So if you really want to align yourself with my course, with what I do well to subscribe, like this video so you don't miss any of the next episodes that are going to be after this video, right? So this is what this whole YouTube video is all about, or this is what this whole YouTube channel is all about, right? So let's get right into the first trading day where I took the first trade, and we see the outcome of the trade. Could be a winning trade, could have been a losing trade. We shall find out, right? So let's get right into it. So guys, on Tuesday I made very devastating mistakes, very silly mistakes on Tuesday. And on Tuesday was my first trading day for the week. It is where I took the first trade, not even the first trade, the first trades, because I took multiple trades on Tuesday. And I made a lot of mistakes that made me lose almost 3%, right? I don't know what I was doing completely, I can be honest with you. But still, I will show you the mistakes that I made so that you don't make them, right? I made a lot of stupid mistakes, and let's break them down. I took, I think, almost 4 trades. Some were small trades, others were really huge trades, and I lost them all stupidly, right? Let's go right into them. So on Tuesday, my bias was bearish. I was supposed to be looking for sales on Tuesday. Reason being, as you can see over here, this whole drop was on Monday. And on Tuesday, the market retraced into this imbalance over here. This was all an inefficiency that needed to be filled on what? On Tuesday. So I was waiting for the market to what? To fill the inefficiency, give us some form of liquidity sweep during New York session so I could enter for my sell trades. So this was all I was thinking about as I was heading into New York session, right? I was expecting to sell the market, but some things happened during New York session that actually confused me. Not just confused, they were really silly mistakes. So let me just say like this: when we head down to a 15 minutes time frame, right? Everything happened as expected and as expected in my strategy, right? In other words, if I'm looking for sales, the market sweeps liquidity from the opposite direction, gives us a market structure shift. I enter for the trade, and we see what happens, right? Everything happened in that manner, but something made me look for buys instead, right? What was it that made me look for buys? As you can see here, I thought as the market was from here, from the 15 minutes time frame, this level over here, let me mark this level, right? What was happening is that the market was making higher highs and higher lows as the market was trying to head up. I thought the market was going to go what? Up to this supply zone for me to be looking for sales from that area. So I thought me looking for sales within this area was too early, right? So I changed my mind and my bias. I had to look for buys instead. And this was my major mistake. This was the first major mistake that made me lose almost 3%. Right. So, like I said, I changed my bias. I was not looking for buys instead. Now, what did happen was that I said, okay, let me take a trade that will give me, or that will head to this order block, which I marked over here. I said, let me take a short-term trade that will lead me to this order block before I could look for buys. This was what I was now thinking in my head. So, and I did exactly that. I said, okay, since the market has taken liquidity, let me take that short-term sell in order to what? In order for the market to mitigate the order block, then do what? Then head up to that supply zone I marked earlier above. This was what I was thinking. So when I headed down to the 5 minutes time frame for me to take the trade, let me remove this, was that I took the first trade, which was me risking 0.5%. I took the first trade over here, right? And my TP was about 1 to 2, somewhere there. I just wanted something to push me down to the zone where I looked forward to buying the market. That was the first trade that I took. Now the second trade that I took was that after the market took these lows, right? So these were just a bunch of silly mistakes that I made. They are even just laughable mistakes, I can admit that. And so when the market took this structure over here, I entered for another trade, just somewhere there. Just somewhere there, and my stops were just now above that high, right? So I thought the market was not gonna what? It was not going to now reverse back. I thought it was just going to move down straight into this what? Into this order block, which I looked forward to buying the market from, right? So those were already two silly mistakes. Now what did happen is that when I took this trade and the market took this low over here, I moved the stop loss of the first trade to match the stop loss of the second trade, because there was already a low which was swept and there was a high lying up. So according to market structure, I'm supposed to put my stops to the most recent high. So that was exactly what I was doing. Now what did happen is that the market reversed from here, took the both trades off somewhere there, took the both of them off. And what did happen next was even more funnier and more stupid than the first two mistakes. Was that after, now let me remove these trades, the mistakes that I made. After the market sweeping off the two stop losses of the first two trades, I said, okay, now since the market has swept these highs, now the market will not be able to reach where? To this order block, which I marked earlier from the 15 minutes time frame where I was supposed to buy the market from. I said, okay, now the market might not reach there. It might only stop at where it is and move up to what? To this supply zone, which I marked over here. Where is it? It was up there, right? So this was all I was doing. So what did happen is that I said, okay, now since the market has swept that high, it is not going to again not move or drop to the order block. So now let me just buy from here, and my stops should be over here, and my TP was going to go all the way to that supply zone which I marked earlier, so that from that supply zone I would maybe expect to sell the market, right? So what did happen? As you can see again, the market took me off as soon as I entered. I was like, damn, that's crazy, man. The market took me out immediately. Now, the fourth mistake, because these were already 3 mistakes and 3 trades, which I lost all of them, right? Okay, I said now, since the market has dropped to the zone which I was expecting it earlier to come to, before I could look for buys, now let me now look for buys at that zone. Because this was my final trade and this was the first plan which I had in mind, right? I said, okay, now let me just enter here. Since the market has dropped to the 15 minutes order block, which I expected it to drop to, then look for buys, I entered the trade there and I put my stop loss there. And again, said what? Now the market is going to go up to that supply zone which I marked earlier. Again, what did happen? I lost the trade again. So it's like I lost 4 trades in a row at the same time. This is what happened on Tuesday, and as a result I lost almost 3% on these trades. Not just these trades, but these foolish and silly trades that I took on Tuesday, right? So guys, I advise you not to take these trades like I did. Just stick to your strategy. Once you take a trade and you lose it, don't revenge trade, because I lost these trades as a result of revenge trading. I wanted to make money on Tuesday regardless of anything that happened, right? This was the major mistakes that I made on Tuesday, and as a result, like I said, I lost 3%. Now let's head and see what happened on Wednesday, because this week has already begun so bad. This loss actually devastated me completely. I normally risk 1% per trade, but in one day I lost 3%, almost 3%. So guys, let's go to Wednesday and we see what happened. So on Wednesday, I took a buy on Wednesday. A reason for the buy was that, as you can see from the 4-hour time frame, the market mitigated this order block, this bullish order block. And what did happen after that? The market rejected off that bullish order block so sharply and so aggressively. So this gave me the confirmation that the market is now willing to reverse, and it was the reason as to why I took the buy on Wednesday. Now when we head down to 15 minutes time frame to see what happened in New York session. As you can see over here in New York session, like I always look for, I have seen that the market took liquidity from the previous session, which is the London session over here. This was liquidity swept. It was the sell side liquidity that was swept when New York session clicked in. It took off liquidity. Then what next was I looking for? I was looking only for a market structure shift for me to enter my trade, of which I do enter my trade from the 5 minutes time frame. So when we head down to the 5 minutes time frame, so as you can see over here, after the market took liquidity from the 15 minutes time frame and from the opposite session, which is the London session, I entered for a market structure shift. Let me remove this. I entered after the market structure shift right here. This was my market structure shift, and as you can see, I entered just immediately after the market structure shift, and my stops were below here. But there's something interesting that happened on Wednesday, and as you can see over here, the market actually gave me my usual risk to reward ratio, which is a risk to reward ratio of 1 to 4, but I still never took my TP. Why? I was so greedy. I wanted it to go up to a risk to reward ratio of 1 to 6. My full TP was up to here, but what I did was that when the market gave me a risk to reward ratio of 1 to 2, I took 50% of the position, right? And when I took 50% of the position, I let the rest of the trade run up to full TP, which never happened, by the way. The trade at a risk to reward ratio of 1 to 4, it reversed, and my stops were just below this low, this new formed low. So what happened, as you can see over here, the market reversed and took us off at this new stop loss. So on Wednesday, it was supposed to be a win if I had stick to my strategy, but unfortunately I was greedy and I wanted more. So as a result, I only made 1%, or actually less than 1% on Wednesday. So this was what happened on Wednesday. Let's see what happened on Friday, which was the last day for the week. So on Friday, I took a sell trade, and a reason behind the sell trade is that, as you can see, there was a bearish order block up there from the 30 minutes time frame, and during New York session, the market headed up to that order block. So I wanted to see some form of liquidity sweep from the previous session, which is obviously the London session. So I headed direct to 5 minutes time frame to see if there was some form of liquidity sweep before a market structure shift. After that, I could have entered for the trade. So as you can see over here, this is the 5 minutes time frame, right? And indeed, during New York session, the market took out this liquidity. It was the buy side liquidity, and as it took that liquidity, there was also a 5 minutes order block that was lying above the liquidity. So this gave me more confirmation that the market was now going to reverse and was going to give us the sell trade. So I entered immediately after the market structure shift, which was somewhere right here, right? And my stops were just above those highs. and my TP as always at a risk to reward ratio of 1:4. But as you can see, what happened, the market wicked us out at our stop loss, then heavily or aggressively dumped into our direction. So we were not wrong in the bias, we were only wrong in the entry, right? But still, that's how my strategy gives me the trades, and I cannot change it for anything, right? So the loss was taken and I was satisfied with the loss. No big deal. That's how the market is, right? So this is what happened on Friday. So guys, this is the overall weekly result for this week. This week hasn't been a good week. It has been a very difficult week. Like I said in the beginning of the video, it has been filled with ups and downs, right? But still, I learned a lot from this week. I learned a lot, and the first lesson I learned is that you always have to stick to your strategy no matter the outcome. Even if it gives you a loss, don't try to revenge trade. This is the lesson learned for the week, and I hope I don't make the same mistakes in the future, right? So like I said, on Tuesday we lost almost 3%. That is 2.8%. We lost 2.8% because of the silly trades that I took on Tuesday. On Wednesday we made less than 1% because of greed. I should have made more on Wednesday, and on Friday we lost the trade, losing 1%, right? So if actually things went well, if I had followed my strategy, my rules and everything, this week would have been a winning week. In other words, even on Tuesday I would have gotten a winning trade, right, if I had stuck to my strategy. On Wednesday I would have also had a winning trade if I had also stuck to my strategy. In other words, if I had risked the full 1%, which I normally do, if I was not so much greedy, everything would have been fine this week. But still, that's how we learn. That's the lesson I took for the week. So this is what happened, guys. Let me show you my ProFarm account and where it is right now as we speak. So guys, this week with the loss that I've taken, we are unfortunately back to break even, right? Last week we were at 3.6% up, right? We were up 3.6%, but because we took a loss of 3.2% this week, we are back to break even. So guys, this is where the account is at the moment. I hope the next week is going to be a winning week. All right. So guys, that's all we have. If you have watched up to the end of this video, I would thank you so much, and do well to like this video if you have found it insightful. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the next episodes that are going to be documented in YouTube, in this YouTube channel. As far as this account is concerned, I'm going to be honest with you, we are going to pass this account. We are going to pass it as a team. You guys are going to witness me passing this account live here on YouTube, right? So guys, thank you, and I hope I see you in the next episode. Peace out.